Alldus podcast is brought to you by Alldus International, supplying your expert AI and digital transformation staffing needs across the US and Europe. Today, you are listening to our AI in Action series, where leading minds in AI from across the world share their story, success, and advice. AI in Action cuts through the hype and explores the true impact of artificial intelligence in our world today.
Welcome to the AI in Action podcast. I'm your host, Mark Kelly. In today's podcast, we have got Matej Zachar, CISO at Kontent.ai. Matej, thank you very much for joining us on the podcast today.
Thank you for having me.
You're kind of interesting because you're at the intersection between AI and security. And previously in the world, you kind of have either kind of stream, right? But there seems to be kind of a coming together more and more. Are you seeing this day to day with some of the customers that you're interacting with, and this becoming more of an interesting conversation for them too?
Oh, absolutely. I would say that security is something that is of high concern, obviously. Like with AI as a new technology, you need to have some facility and a way to build trust in it, right? And so like having AI like done and implemented in a secure way is kind of the foundation for everything else, right? So I would say yes, and the other elements that you start seeing is discussions around privacy, how whether it's okay and safe to put your personal information in, and then also like new areas like bias and hallucinations and things. Yeah.
And did that give you energy in your career at an early stage to get into the world of cyber? Obviously, there's so many different tracks within that. What kind of drew you to that?
Well, I would say that, so I've been in cyber for all my career, which is like 14 years or so, and at this point, and AI, like I've started being involved more in AI, I think, with the big AI boom in 2022 or something, where, ChatGPT came out and it became more and more popular. So I would say that cyber was first for me, and then AI came, yeah.
Yeah. What are some of the ways that you're helping your customers solve problems day to day?
Right. So I would say that the foundation, as I said, like the foundation to trust, I feel in the AI space is having it done and implemented in a secure way, right? So having some sort of like AI governance over what you are developing and providing to your clients, that's what I'm the most busy with, and trying to prove that also in terms of transparency, how we do things, certifications, awards, accolades, things like that.
Because it's pretty easy to get completely confused because there's so many different terminology, trusted AI, responsible AI, ethical, privacy by design, governance. Where do you start? And then you add in the EU AI Act, DORA, NIS2. It could be easy to get confused.
Yeah, you're right. And there is a lot of that in the industry. I think the main reason for that is that we don't have one central regulations or standard, right, to govern everything, and is also rapidly evolving. So you would have different organizations coming up with different concepts and frameworks.
Yeah.
You have NIST, AI risk management framework, for instance, that is very very well known in the US, for example, and here in Europe we know about the EU AI Act, right? But again, it does have its like requirements, but also its limitations. Yeah, and it's interesting to also observe this field, because like it's probably gonna be revealed just today, right, on the European level, because there is that discussion about like deregulation package.
Yeah,
like we are gonna see whether that is gonna influence the AI Act applicability and enforcement one way or another, and whether that's gonna come into reality is a question. So I would say the lack of like one central standard, it's what makes it really confusing for people, I would say. And so what we need to be better as an industry is really articulating the main benefits that AI governance has to them, right?
Yeah.
Which is basically, increased trust and in the solution that is there.
Yeah, because we're kind of seeing that, and there will be a decision today. We're expecting, for a lot of people, they're kind of ignoring what's out there because it's so confusing. So you just kind of shelve it, right? Which is challenging. When you see your customers, you have particularly interest in the kind of world of supply chain. How does this start to become integrated more and more within the supply chain, and why should companies care?
Well, yeah. So the thing is, once you start governing AI yourself, you start realizing how much you also rely on your providers. And especially nowadays for most of the tech products that are out there, whether it's your Office suite, whether it's your task management, whether it's your whatever you are really using nowadays, like all the vendors are slowly like pushing AI functionality in.
Yeah.
And some of them like with, let's say, better governance than others. Some of them, I'm pretty certain that like all of them, are trying to do the best, but you need some standards and you need some assurance that what you're getting is actually secure and that it's not going to expose your data. So the most common questions we are getting as a vendor is the model going to be trained on our data, right? So that's like number one concern, I would say. But there is so much more into it, right? Like whether how that AI functionality is exposed to the end user, what happens with the data that comes in, what happens with the data that comes out, and so there's loads of concerns. And I think what really makes it puzzling, and I've been talking with fellow CISOs, and about this is there just a sheer number of suppliers that you already have. And you basically have to like review like most of them again. I mean, you definitely need to do that on a regular basis. But at the same time, with the new AI features, like it seems that every week is something new that you should be looking at, reviewing, and making sure that it doesn't affect you.
I think Gartner said 84% of vendors next year will have introduced some type of AI feature with their terms and conditions that you're expected just to accept terms and move on. So this kind of tsunami of new terms and conditions, where most people will probably press accept, this could have an impact.
There you go. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, like in terms of enterprise supply chains, you would have the contracts would be negotiated, but obviously you have big vendors. Well, it depends on the dynamics, right? Like if you are a small company, you're probably not in a position to negotiate with the likes of Google, Microsoft, or whatever, right? So you might have some ways or leverages, but it will depend on the power of you as a buyer and the power of the supplier, I think, and there can be disparity. So,
When you're actually looking at measuring AI governance impact, whether that's tomorrow, whether it's in a quarter, whether it's in a year, how do you manage customers' expectations on that?
So it's in terms of measuring, like what you really need to be looking at because of the lack of standardization is really the customer sentiment and for us as a vendor at least the AI adoption. So like for example for us, most of the AI features are you need to turn them on, so they are not it's not a like default on. It's so you need to make a conscious decision. Sometimes like kind of read through some of the details how that technology works. So how you measure that is by like how many people actually turned it on, how many people are using it, but obviously then the sentiment toward your solution that you get from the market, from the conversations that you have with clients. And we did see a lot of kind of reservation towards AI. And there are still companies and organizations, it blows my mind a little bit that in some ways they say, okay, like we don't want any AI whatsoever
They're
anywhere.
saying that.
Yeah. But there's not too many. I would say that the sentiment is really switching. But in the beginning, especially like 1 year ago, it was more common than not that the companies would be like, all right, like not yet. Like it's not for us yet.
Yeah. Well, there's quite a journey to go on to actually introducing that across an organization, but in silos or in kind of specific verticals, it's an awful lot more straightforward. When you actually look at some of the future skills, and I know you're interested in kind of giving back to the next generation coming up, what kind of recommendations are you offering them?
I would say stay curious and kind of exposed to that change. Like the change for us in cybersecurity has been, and I've been in the field for, as I said, like 14 years, and so it's not a super long period of time, but at the same time, we've seen so much change happening, and I think it's ever more important for practitioners or future practitioners as well to stay current and relevant and continue learning.
Yeah,
I think that's kind of paramount to remain successful in the field, really, because you see so many changes happening every day. As I said, and it's not just the products; it's the foundational models, how they develop. It's the whole conversation around like AI governance, it's cybersecurity, the threat landscape, or AI red teaming, testing. There's so much into it that continuous learning is absolutely important.
Do you think that companies are underestimating the cyber threat that's out there? So many companies are dealing with sabotage or paying out ransomwares. It's gone off the charts. I don't have a figure to mind, but I know it's pretty high. Do you think companies are just underestimating what's happening? Do you think there's an element where companies are starting to actually sharing enough that they're being hacked and breached because of reputational damage, or what does that landscape look like?
It's hard to generalize that like that. It's always about risk management, and certainly some organizations are more exposed to risk than others. I will say that what we are seeing is kind of an interesting shift in technology, and you probably can talk into that as well, right? As as the job market goes as well, that there's been it's unprecedented. I would say that there were some that the job insecurity is not as secure as it used to be.
Yeah.
If you lack the manpower to actually visualize these risks to executive leadership and board and whatnot, or the security team is underfunded.
Yeah,
that's where the issues start appearing. But that's kind of one trend that I see on the market. And the other thing is the volume of attacks. It's just massively increasing. What we have as a phishing attempts, and yeah, it's what we see is absolute huge uptick in phishing attempts, in targeted phishing, in very well looking messages that our executives are getting. And again, like talking with fellow CISOs, this is like what we all see.
Yeah.
It's just AI makes it like reduces friction in creating good phishing emails or basically good targeted attacks. It's just far like easier than it used to be.
Yeah, and people can literally buy an email and then you open it, it looks like you're innocent, and suddenly you're in a world of pain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It can be as easy as that, yeah.
Or also you get a text message, you take it from your bank, you click into it, you put in your PIN, and suddenly you're in a world of pain as well. Like it's, and they usually get you at your most vulnerable, right? And your people, we think, well, how could you fall for something like that? Maybe you're tired, maybe you're multitasking. It sounds similar to what someone sent before, so it's really kind of going into that level. So stay curious, try to stay up to speed, work obviously with a professional, and then try to have good governance in place to build the foundation of using it responsibly as well. Is there anything that's kind of exciting you in the opportunity of AI being used as a guard to protect against cyber threats or vulnerabilities?
Certainly, like where I see like loads of good use cases for automation is in areas that previously were, again, like tedious work that used to be done by kind of security engineers. And I think where we see success in our organization is, for example, like kind of gathering information for the first triage, like managing our bug bounty program better, for example. Like so, getting some first triage of the reports that we are, or at least analysis of the reports that we are getting from security researchers. That took off a huge load from the team. What we see being successful is the likes of, a new incident or new vulnerability came in, give me the comparison how we handled that sort of like that type of vulnerability or that type of issue previously. Searching and looking through the code becomes a little bit faster. So I would say that there are these like small bits and pieces where you can really accelerate the jobs of security engineers.
Yeah, brilliant. Matej Zachar, CISO at Kontent.ai, thank you very much for joining us on the AI in Action podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Alldus podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review. We are available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and any Android podcast of choice. You can also head over to our website, www.alldus.com, to listen to more podcasts, view our open roles, and stay up to date with industry news. Thanks for listening, and stay tuned for more great episodes coming very soon.